It's the World Champion Checkmate Challenge, and we come on to Anatoly Karpov. Let's take a look at this position before we go any further. Karpov, white to play against Viktor Korchnoi. How did Karpov win with a checkmating attack from this position? I'll give you the solution in a second. Karpov won the world title in 1975 by default because Fischer refused to defend his title, and chess politics had something to do with that, but actually really Fischer was to blame. It was his intransigence on the match conditions that really meant that the match could never take place. In fact, Karpov was very willing to play against Fischer. They actually met on a few occasions, and negotiations took place between them, even on a personal level, away from the federations. But Fischer wouldn't budge on his match conditions, which were too excessive, basically. So Karpov was declared world champion in 1975. And because he won by default, he actually wanted to prove that he was a worthy champion, and he did that. In the years between 1975 and 1980, he was absolutely supreme in tournament chess. He won the top tournaments and really proved to everyone that he was the best in the world. I think that in some ways he's kind of underrated, actually. I think he was a far more varied player than he's often given credit for. If you look at his games, he doesn't just play those long end games that somehow we associate Karpov with. He played a whole range of positions, played great attacks, as we're going to see. He was a very dynamic player in many ways. And I think he can lay claim to be one of the all-time greats. He had 3 extraordinary matches against Viktor Korchnoi. We'll talk about that in a second. Not just the World Championship matches in 1978 and 1981, but in 1974 in the Candidates Final, which effectively was the final of the World Championship as Fischer defaulted. But then he had these incredible series of matches against Kasparov in the 1980s as well, and the final one in 1990. And he went toe-to-toe with Kasparov. Kasparov really only just edged him. And Karpov's career at the top level continued well into the 90s. So, he was at the top of the chess world for, 25 years, basically. Just an extraordinary player. And he still plays even now at, quite a venerable age. So, coming back to 1974 and this game. This was a dragon played by Korchnoi, but Karpov managed to refute it with a fantastic novelty, actually. And here he initiated a checkmating attack. So Karpov trying to break through on the H-file here. If white takes immediately, then the king can escape, and it finds a safe square on E7. So Karpov played knight to F4. And now the threat is to take and put the knight on D5, the second knight, and that will cover the E7 square, and then it'll just be checkmate. So it's absolutely necessary that black plays bishop C6 to stop knight number 2 coming into D5. And now, at first glance, you might think that this is a winning move, but no. Knight H5 doesn't actually work. Of course, if that's taken, then Rook G1 check. But black has the saving move, Queen G5 check. And winning the exchange isn't sufficient to win the game because of this massive pawns on the king side. I would say that white actually has to be a little bit careful there, but should be a draw. But in this position, there is a winning continuation for white. A beautiful idea from Karpov. E5, wonderful. I do hope you spotted that. The point is this: if pawn takes pawn, then it's possible to take on f6 and play knight h5, because there's no saving check on g5, because this pawn now stands in the way, and this is just checkmate. Rook g1 followed by queen g7 mate. Korchnoi took on d5. Karpov took on f6 and queen h7, and in this case the e-file is open, and queen h8 was the final move of the game. So the king here, Korchnoi resigned, so king e7, you take on d5, and rook e1 check will either win the queen or win the rook here. That's absolutely crushing. Brilliant victory from Karpov. That was such a nice attacking game, and as I said, do check out his other games because he often won with beautiful attacks. If you want to see more in this series of world champion checkmates, then do check out the playlist. You'll find the link up there somewhere, or possibly down there, depending on what device you're looking at. And don't forget, it's free to subscribe to the channel, and just click on the button down there or up there or wherever it is. Thanks for watching.